So, just take a look at this. It's beautiful, right? But how do you go from that feeling, that wow moment, to an actual number? A number with a dollar sign in front of it. How do you put a price on this? What you're looking at is a piece called Peonies. It was painted back in 2010 by the legendary American artist Alex Katz. It's oil on linen, pretty standard stuff there. But this painting, it's going to be our guide today. We're going to follow it through the wild and, frankly, rapidly changing world of how art gets its price tag.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on what you could call the art of the deal. And it's a world where culture, beauty, and some serious high finance, they all smash right into each other.
For hundreds of years, a painting like this was, it was for looking at, right? You'd hang it on a wall, you'd admire it, simple. But today, it's become something else entirely. It's not just art anymore, it's a high-stakes financial asset. And when I say high stakes, I am not kidding. The estimated value for Peonies, according to the experts, is somewhere between $850,000 and $1.2 million. Yeah, that's a serious number for, a canvas with some paint on it. So that brings us to the real question. How? How does anyone actually get to that number? It used to be this kind of murky mix of an expert's opinion, what it sold for last time, and just a gut feeling. But that's not the whole story anymore, not even close. The game has totally changed. And the reason it's changed is because that old game of gut feelings and dusty auction records, it's being pushed aside by something new. Let's call it the science of value. Because more and more, the answer to that big how much question is coming from big data and, you guessed it, artificial intelligence. So let's meet one of the key players here. This is a company in South Korea called ROARTE, and they are right at the forefront of this whole new wave. Their big mission? To bring some much-needed transparency and actual hard numbers to an art market that's, let's face it, been famously secretive for centuries. The main tool they use is a system called RACOR. It's short for Rousseau AI Curator. And what it does is pretty incredible. It just crunches massive, and I mean massive, amounts of data. We're talking exhibition history, auction results, trends for the artist, even academic papers. It pulls it all together to build this super detailed financial profile for a single piece of art. And here's a peek under the hood at how RACOR actually sees Peonies. It breaks everything down into these key criteria and gives them a score. So, for rarity, it gets an 8.7. Authenticity, a super strong 9.2. And originality gets a massive 9.5. It's a really fascinating attempt to put a hard number on things that, for the longest time, felt purely subjective. Now, this is where the investment side of things gets really interesting. The RACOR report shows that floral works by Alex Katz, specifically, have been growing at an average of 8.7% a year. Now, to put that in perspective, that's way better than the broader contemporary art index. So this data tells you it's not just a pretty picture, it's a verifiable asset class that's actually outperforming the market. Okay, but a valuation, no matter how scientific it is really just a number on a page, right? For that number to become real money, the painting has to actually sell. And that's where the global auction block comes in. So you've got the titans, the big names everyone knows, like Christie's and Sotheby's. They've basically run the show in the West for centuries. But now, you've got these absolute power players coming out of Asia, like K-Auction and Seoul Auction in South Korea. They're not just participating, they are driving massive demand and really starting to shape global taste. And it's not just the auction houses. The collectors are global too. Sure, North America and Europe are still the biggest markets, for now. But that RACOR data points to a really crucial trend, a huge spike in interest and big-time purchases from collectors in Japan and South Korea. You can literally see the market center of gravity shifting eastward. But wait, there's more. Just as data is totally changing how we value art, another new wave of technology is about to completely change who gets to own it. So let's talk about the fractional future. Let's be real for a second. The traditional art world has a massive barrier to entry, and it's called money. A lot of it. Most of us can't just go out and buy $1 million painting. But what if you could? What if you could own a tiny slice of a Katz or a Warhol for just a few bucks? And what if you could trade that slice just as easily as you trade a stock on your phone? Well, that's exactly the promise of companies like LiveArt. Their whole vision is to take what they call real-world assets, or RWAs. Think fine art, rare watches, you name it, and bring them on-chain. Now, on-chain is just a fancy way of saying they record and trade the ownership digitally on the blockchain. It's secure, it's transparent, and they believe this is a potential $10 trillion market. That's not a typo. So how does this actually work? It sounds complicated, but it's really a pretty simple three-step deal. First, they get a museum-quality artwork like our Peonies and make sure it's the real deal. Second, they lock it up tight in a high-security vault, and then they split the ownership into a bunch of digital tokens on the blockchain. And third, and this is the cool part, you can buy and sell those little fractions, those digital shares, super easily.
Okay, so let's pull back for a second. Where does this all leave us? We've just watched a single painting transform from a beautiful object into this data-driven, globally traded, and now digitally sliceable thing. It's one heck of a journey, from pure art to seriously complex finance. Think about the journey of Peonies for a second. It starts in 2010 in an artist's studio. Then it moves to the old-school market of galleries and fancy auctions. Fast forward to today, and its value is being crunched by an AI like RACOR. And its future? Well, its future is as a fractionalized asset, living on the blockchain. When you lay it all out like that, it's a pretty profound evolution, isn't it? It perfectly captures this crazy moment we're in, from the canvas to the auction block, all the way to the blockchain.
And all of this brings us to the final, maybe billion-dollar question. When a masterpiece, a piece of our shared cultural heritage, can be priced by an algorithm and traded in tiny little pieces 24/7 by absolutely anyone with an internet connection, does that fundamentally change what art is? That's the new frame we're all looking through now. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.